Yo, what's up? Welcome back to Tuesday Guusday. Today we're going to be talking about Soul of the Supreme King, which just came out in Maze of Memories. It's a card we've known about for a long time. We've just been waiting for it to get imported to us. And it just so happens to be very useful in a deck like Dinomorphia, which is a deck that I used to enjoy a lot until I would get timed out at locals every single game, so I stopped playing it. But it is a pretty nice card to have in a deck like this for multiple reasons. So what does it do? So first, you have to pay half of your life points to special summon a Zark from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, but its effect is negated. And it is returned to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. Right, so it just summons a Zark by paying half, but which, doesn't really mean a whole lot because its effect is negated. But the important thing is that when your opponent activates a spell, card, or effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard and one Zark from your face-up monster zone. Special summon one each of a Pendulum Dragon, Xyz Dragon, Synchro Dragon, and Fusion Dragon from your hand, deck, extra deck, or graveyard. So it lets you swarm the field with a bunch of guys, just kind of for not much of a activation condition, right? Pretty much every deck is going to be playing spells or using some kind of spell effect, unless you're playing the Dinomorphia mirror match or playing against Labyrinth or something. But 99% of the time, your opponent will have to activate some kind of spell card to really accomplish something. Meaning this card is almost always going to be able to be used. So, alongside Dinomorphia, a card like Frenzy and Soul of the Supreme King in combination with one another can kind of set up a whole board full of dudes, just kind of out of nowhere. Right? So let's just say, like, our opponent does something because, our opponent has to at least commit one actions for us to use our Frenzy. What we can do is we can go ahead and use both of these at the same time, just to go ahead and start, getting these monsters out on the board. So our Frenzy is going to summon the Kentragina, and our Supreme King is going to summon the Zark. Now the Zark is negated, so it's going to try to activate here because it's mandatory. But it won't resolve, and we can go ahead and use Kentragina to get Rexterm on the field. Now, since we've paid half 3 times, we're now at 1,000 life points, which means Rexterm is going to be, skill draining monsters our opponent controls that have 1,000 or more attack, which is, almost every monster. Almost every monster in the game is going to have at least 1,000 attack, so that's, already we're putting up something fierce here. Zark is going to get negated by its own effect. Right, now let's say our opponent tries to keep going using a spell card, right? They can't use monster effects on the field, so they need to use some kind of spell card extender, right? So Rexterm kind of forces your opponent to activate a spell card, which can be pretty cool. So let's say they just use some random spell card. I'm playing against, a bot, so they're going to activate Banner of Courage. If you're playing against some poor 10-year-old at locals that's playing this deck, then, I feel really bad for them. What we're going to do is we're going to summon out all of the dragons mentioned here. Now, there are a few different options for each one of these. Are kind of the best options in each category, and I will talk about each one later on. So what exactly do we have here, right? For our Pendulum Dragon, we have Brave Eyes, which it has a couple of effects that rely on it being fusion summoned, but it was not fusion summoned, it was special summoned. So the only relevant effect here is that it negates the activated effects of monsters with 0 attack. Decks do occasionally have monsters that have 0 attack. One of the most common ones is going to be Ghost Girls, right? So all the Ghost Girl hand traps all have 0 attack. So if for some reason they haven't already used like an Ash in hand or something, then this will prevent them from doing so. You know, plus a couple of other random things here and there, like Scareclaw Kashtira has 0 attack. Every deck has the potential to play cards with 0 attack, so this is just nice. But at the end of the day, it's just a free 3000 beat stick we get to summon. For our Fusion Dragon, we have Starving Venom. So both its first and third effect rely on it being fusion summoned, which it was not. So we really only get the effect to copy an opponent's monster effect, which is going to be on our follow-up turn, not exactly on this turn. There is another Fusion Dragon that also doesn't really do anything, but it does have more attack. So if you don't think that this copy effect is going to be relevant, you can summon the other one instead. For the Xyz Dragon, we don't have an option that actually does anything. Most of them are just going to be vanilla beaters, just due to the fact that, you know, Xyz monsters need Xyz material to activate their effects. So if you're special summoning them with no material, then they're just kind of vanilla monsters on the board, right? And finally, the only one that's, you know, super useful is going to be the Crystal Clearwing, because it has a couple relevant effects. First is that when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can make this card unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters and gain attack equal to that monster's original attack. Right, so if they're somehow able to activate monsters like in hand or grave, right, because Rexstrom's on board so they can't use monsters on field, we can make our Crystal Clearwing unaffected by monster effects. But most importantly is that once per turn, when a spell, trap, or effect is activated, you can negate it and destroy it. So this provides a double layer of protection along with your Rex term. Now, unfortunately, the first action that your opponent makes is activating Lightning Storm. You can't really get this out, you know, before that. So this is really only gonna be for spell trap extenders, you know, things that, you know, spell and traps that summon monsters from hand or deck or whatever, like Kashtira Theosis or Emergency Teleport, things like that. That's going to be the main use case for this card. But if your opponent does, for some reason, hold all of their board breakers, then putting this out gives you a dual layer of protection along with your Rex term. Because Rex term is stopping all of the monster effects, Clearwing is stopping spells and traps, and you have just a board full of big dudes that your opponent also has to deal with somehow. So in terms of the things you can actually summon off this, first the Pendulum Dragons. We have the Beast. Now this card can only be fusion summoned, right? It's in one of the requirements is that it must be fusion summoned, and Supreme King doesn't fusion summon, it just specials. So this card is already off the table. Rune Eyes only gains its effects if it is fusion summoned, so basically this card doesn't really do anything, it's just a vanilla beater. So Brave Eyes is pretty much going to be your only option in terms of Pendulum Dragons. And the same thing goes for Xyz Dragons, right? All of these require Xyz material in order to activate their effects. This one isn't out yet in the TCG. You can see it has a little OCG symbol, right? So the most relevant thing about this is that if it's destroyed in the monster zone, it puts it in the Pendulum zone, and then during the main phase you can special summon this card back to the field from the Pendulum zone. So once we get this card, this will probably be the best one to use because it can just recycle itself over and over again. But for now, your best option is probably just to go for something like Arc Rebellion, because in a deck like Dinomorphia, you can actually make Raider's Knight into Arc Rebellion using your level 4s. You know, or if you want to just keep it simple, you can also get the Dark Rebellion, but, you know, it has less attack, so it's just pick your poison, depending on how much extra deck space you have and things like that. And then next we have the fusion dragons. This greedy must be fusion summoned, so that one's off the table. And then we have Starving Predapower versus Starving Venom. So this one doesn't gain any effects because it requires things with predator counters. So this one's also just a 3600 vanilla. So if you think that the copy effect of Starving Venom will never come up, you can just summon this instead, and at least this one's 36 instead of 28. So it's just, you know, bigger number, it's harder to deal with. It'll do a bit more damage when it comes back around to your turn. And then finally we have the Synchro Dragons, which your two main options you're looking at is Crystal Clear versus Crystal. This one will negate spells and traps, and Crystal Wing will negate monster effects. But, you know, if you already have Rex Term on board, being able to negate monster effects doesn't hold as much value. And same thing goes for a Clear Wing. Like, it can stop effects that target a level 5 or higher monster, but only monster effects that target. So it doesn't protect your monsters from things like Imperm or Change of Heart. It doesn't do that, so it's just, again, kind of not worth it when you have Rex Term on board. So Crystal Clearwing, I think, is going to be your best bet.